Hello everyone, Scott here. Today's video is brought to you in partnership with Apple Arcade's World of Demons, but more on that later. For the most part, you know where you stand with a boss fight. Big imposing thing comes at you and the method is to use everything you've learned so far to overcome. Sometimes though, developers shake things up, proving what great boss design truly is, also confirming just how tough it is to innovate in such a well-worn area. I'm Scott from WhatCulture.com and these are 10 video game boss fights that broke the rules. Also note there will be spoilers for a handful of games, check the description for details. Number 10. Famed Mimic Go-Go, Final Fantasy V. Final Fantasy has had many gimmicky bosses over the years, but the trick with Famed Mimic Go-Go is to literally do nothing at all. Those who immediately strike will find Go-Go hits back with massive attacks that cause 9,999 damage. Basically, traditional combat is a one-way trip to the grave, and the solution is actually to listen to what Go-Go says before the fight. Could you imitate me? You'd certainly win. Because Go-Go is doing nothing but standing on the spot, after about a minute of letting the battle play out on your side, the Mimic will praise you for copying him before banishing himself and then handing over a crystal shard. Number 9. Mr. Freeze, Batman Arkham City. Widely regarded to be one of the best boss battles of the 2010s, Mr. Freeze's brilliance lies in forcing the player to put so much of their well-honed skills to good use, while also being unable to rely on just spamming their favorites. To that end, once you've successfully used a tactic against Freeze, he'll program it into his suit and auto-block it next time. As far as I know, no other boss has ever been programmed this way, and if you're playing on hard, you'll need to find 8 different ways to land a hit before the fight comes to an end. Number 8. Literally any boss, Deus Ex Human Revolution. Sadly, not all rule-breaking boss fights are for the better, as anyone who's ever played the otherwise awesome Deus Ex Human Revolution can attest. Annoyingly, as would become clear in behind-the-scenes documentaries after launch, Human Revolution's bosses break all the rules because they were outsourced to a completely different dev team during production. As such, they don't fit the game whatsoever, and even worse, if you've been playing stealthily, which is totally a viable way to play this RPG, you're suddenly up against bosses in straight combat, with the powers you've invested in doing very little damage. The complaints were pervasive enough that Eidos eventually revamped the fights for the director's cut, allowing players to defeat bosses through stealth and hacking. Number 7. Valoria Dreamwalker, World of Warcraft. One of the original MMORPGs, WoW is legendary for pioneering the idea of a boss with a stupidly massive health pool that can only be taken down with a group of people over a long period of time. The fight against Valoria Dreamwalker then, a captured green dragon, bucks all conventions because it flips the condition for victory. Instead of going all out, you actually need to heal Valoria up to full health, all while fighting various mobs of additional enemies trying to stop you. What's really great and super rare in the genre is that this battle puts healers in the spotlight, rather than simply having them support DPS or tank builds as usual. In a game so thoroughly concerned with bigger, badder bosses, this was a great change of pace. Number 6. Sarin, Mass Effect. The first Mass Effect has one of my favourite subversions of any final encounter. Providing you pick the right options and have spec'd in the right direction, you can forego an entire stage of the fight against Sarin by simply talking your way out of it. Near the end of the game, players with sufficiently high levels of charm can actually skip the initial throwdown, instead convincing Sarin that he's in the wrong, leading to a powerful scene of the former Spectre agent pulling a gun and ending his own life. It's a supremely shocking moment for anyone expecting a conventional fight, and though Sarin is brought back as a sovereign reanimated husk, it's fascinating to discuss just how much of the real him was in there all along. More than anything else, it's a testament to just how much weight BioWare placed on character development and the power of your words across that first game, as a setup like this was not repeated again.
Before we continue, I just want to talk to you guys today about today's list sponsor, World of Demons. If you don't know, this is the brand new hack and slash action game from Platinum Games, available now on iOS. From Nier Automata to Bayonetta, Platinum has been responsible for some of the most thrilling action games in the entire genre. And now they're bringing their stylish knack for combat and world building to all Apple devices with a subscription to Apple Arcade. With intuitive touch controls and epic combos, World of Demons has an easy to learn but tough to master combat system to indulge in across 16 detailed stages. Find a playstyle that suits you as well by choosing between the vibrant cast of playable samurai who each come with their own unique abilities and weapons. Fancy balancing speed and power, taking down fools with a katana? Well, the mysterious samurai raised in hell Onimaru is for you. Prefer quicker, longer range strikes? Well, the Shrine Maiden Seo might be a better option. Even better, you'll be able to combine all of these playstyles together with over 100 yokai to recruit and summon in battle to give you the edge in certain fights. Of course, you've probably already noticed this by now, but World of Demons is a beautiful game. The traditional art style is inspired by yokai lore, while the soundtrack complements this striking aesthetic through the use of classical Japanese instruments. And I mean, just look at how all of this comes together in motion. It is undeniably lush. So, subscribe to Apple Arcade and download World of Demons now. And head over to the World of Demons socials on Instagram and Twitter for a deeper look at this new game. But for now, back to that list.
Number 5, King K. Rool, Donkey Kong Country. Donkey Kong Country's final boss fight against King K. Rool seems pretty straightforward until he falls down. After skirting clear of his attacks and leaping on his head a few times, K. Rool's day seems to be done. The end credits rolling by as you sit back and toast a banana to Donkey Kong himself. Except if you actually read the credits, you'll realize all is not well. Most of the production team seems to be comprised of Kremlings for a start, and after about 30 seconds or so, K. Rool bursts back to life for another round. The fight itself is more of the same, and that's easy enough, but I totally feel sorry for anyone who put the controller down and left the room, leaving King K. Rool to steamroll you and emerge victorious. Number 4, The Other Player, A Way Out. Honestly, I can't recommend A Way Out enough if you play with a friend or a loved one. Some of the line deliveries might be a little stilted, but it's easily one of the most fun co-op experiences you can ever have. A split-screen tale told through twin perspectives of two convicted criminals escaping prison, stories unfold in parallel both together and apart. The game's ingenious rug pull comes in its final boss encounter though, where after hours of working together to escape, protagonists Leo and Vincent are pitted against one another instead, after it's revealed that Vincent is an undercover cop. Brilliantly, this is far from the end of the game, and the dynamic in real life, especially if you're sat in the same room together, totally shifts. Now you're in a one-on-one versus match. The climactic sequence is an epic showdown between the two players, ending with each man wounded and scrambling to pick up a gun first. Whoever gets the gun ends up shooting the other dead, providing a neat juxtaposition to the close of Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, where both brothers' skill sets became one instead. Number 3, Sans, Undertale. Undertale's meta-narrative tone continually recontextualizes RPG tropes, and players who decide to kill everything in sight rather than befriend creatures instead will end up facing off against your very first friend Sans as the game's true final boss. Now, Undertale's combat follows the layout of bullet hell shooters. You're stuck in a confined space doing everything you can to avoid projectiles and various shapes that come your way. More things cluttering the screen means more difficulty, but in the Sans fight that is thrown out the window. To amp up the challenge and almost take you to task for trying to achieve the aptly named genocide route, your on-screen box will change size constantly, and Sans can attack you even when you're sorting through menus. It is, for the most part, pretty ridiculous, and to beat Sans you actually need to wait a few minutes for him to fall asleep. Then push your combat box over the fight option in the bottom left corner of the screen. Sans is a big deal for a reason, and this fight is unlike anything else you've ever played. Number 2, Old Monk, Demon Souls. From Software are the name in grand boss design, especially after the hot streak of Dark Souls into Bloodborne into Sekiro. Before then though, Hidetaka Miyazaki and the team were experimenting with what could work, and Demon Souls features a supremely cool fight that would later be paid homage to through Dark Souls 2's Looking Glass Knight. See, while the majority of enemies and bosses are puppeted by AI, the Old Monk has a high chance of being controlled by another player in real time, given that any invaders are able to take over. This explains why some players are able to cakewalk the fight if there's no one available at the time, whereas to others the Old Monk can be one of the hardest duels in the game if you happen to go up against a veteran player. Thankfully, you can even the playing field or just surrender by taking your game offline, forcing the AI to take over and letting you learn what the hell is coming your way. And number 1, Psycho Mantis, Metal Gear Solid. The original rule breaker himself figuring out how to beat Psycho Mantis on the PlayStation only sounds crazier the more time we get from 1998 and the less anyone else has tried anything similar. To add an extra dimension to everything, Hideo Kojima shatters the fourth wall and rebuilds it multiple times throughout the encounter. Mantis will read your memory card, commenting on any Konami save files you might have. He can make your newly minted DualShock vibrate, which was a new feature at the time, and even trick you into thinking your console has died altogether, showing a black screen with just Hideo in the corner. By far the biggest talking point though was the ability to read your mind, seeing Mantis evade all your attacks or just not take any damage. The solution? Physically unplug your controller and insert it in the second port, breaking the psychic link and making Mantis vulnerable. It's such mind-bogglingly brilliant use of gaming tech, laying the gauntlet down to all other developers. To this day though, very few have tried anything similar, though Kojima did bring Mantis back in Metal Gear Solid 4, where he loses his mind over vibration all over again if you happen to own a DualShock 3 controller. And those are 10 video game boss fights that totally broke the rules. Let me know your favourites down in the comments below, and please check out the WhatCulture Gaming Podcast. For now, I've been Scott from WhatCulture.com, and I'll catch you soon.